it's me, Dee Dee, and today we're going to be giving out awards to the best cabled crew neck sweaters. In today's episode, we are going to look at a handful of cabled crew neck sweater patterns and hand out awards in different categories. Do I have any authority to do this? Absolutely not. Have I only knit one cabled sweater? Yes, I have. So take my awards today with whatever you will or for whatever you will. But maybe you would like to play along and guess which sweater will get which award today. So thanks for joining me. Let's get started. So, all right, down to business. Today, I have assembled a handful of crew neck cabled classic sweater patterns, and I'm going to be handing out some awards for categories such as most inclusive, most popular, most unique, least intimidating, and best free cabled sweater pattern. So we're going to look at each of these cabled sweater patterns individually, and then I'll talk about what my criteria for the awards were and who the winners are. Again, I am, have no qualifications to do this except from what I've bestowed upon myself. This is just for fun. And cabled sweaters are everywhere and ready to wear, but also in your Instagram feed from other knitters on Ravelry. There were 13,000, I think it was 13,000. Yes, 13,000 hits on Ravelry for cabled crew neck sweaters. So they're everywhere, and I've got some ready to wear pictures or inspiration popping up here on your screen.
The patterns that are up for awards today are the Honeycomb Aran, a free pattern by Gayle Bunn for Yarnspirations, the Kennaway by Sarah Solomon of Into the Wool, the Quinn Pullover by Kaitlyn Barthold, the Billie Pullover by Sari Nordlund, the Handsome Chris by Caryn Shaffer, the Moby Sweater by Petite Knit, the Saven by Meghan Babin of Hudson and West, My Favorite Things Knitwear sweater number 15. Let's look at each pattern in more detail.
Honeycomb Aran sweater, and this is a free pattern by Gayle Bunn for Yarnspirations. This is knit out of worsted weight yarn. She used Patton's Classic Wool Worsted. She knit this up on US size 8, or that is the recommended needles, and it has up to a 62-inch finished chest circumference. There are over 1,000 projects of the Honeycomb Aran on Ravelry, so this has been knit obviously a lot of times, and the pattern is from 2014, but it was recently updated in 2022. So this has been a time-honored favorite as far as free, anyway, cabled sweaters go. The next sweater that is up for award is Kennaway. This is a sweater by Sarah Solomon of Into the Wool. This is an Aran weight sweater. She used Harrisville Designs yarn, and she knit this on a US size 9. This goes up to an impressive 72.5 inches finished chest circumference. I mean impressive in that that's a very inclusive size range there. It has a recommended ease of 6 to 12 inches. And it has 4.9 stars on Ravelry, but only 23 projects. So this doesn't have a ton of reviews, but all the reviews it does have are very positive. This sweater is knit in pieces from the bottom up. It is a unisex sweater, and it includes instructions for a single layer collar, but also a double folded collar. It has set-in sleeves as well. The next sweater that's up for an award consideration is the Quinn Pullover. This is by Kaitlyn Barthold. This is another free pattern. This is an Aran weight sweater using Lion brand retweed, so a very affordable and available yarn. It is knit on a US size 9. It has a drop shoulder. It's a bottom-up construction knit in the round, so it's not pieced. Has a finished chest circumference of up to 71 inches, so good size inclusivity there. And it has 56 projects on Ravelry with 4.9 stars. So, several inspiration photos to look at, but also get some feedback from people who have knit it before. The next sweater being considered for an award is the Billie Pullover by Sari Nordlund. And when I knew I wanted to include a Sari Nordlund cabled sweater, and when I was looking on Ravelry, turns out she has like umpteen million cabled sweater patterns out there. I chose the Billie because it seemed like the most classic of the cabled sweaters, and that's really what I'm looking at here is kind of those timeless classic cabled sweaters. So the Billie Pullover is knit in worsted weight yarn. She used Cascade 220, which again I love because that's a yarn that's widely available to everybody and at a decent cost. It's knit on US 7 and it goes up to a 63 and 3/4 inch chest circumference, and that is including the recommended ease. This is a seamless sweater, so again, it's not knit in pieces. It is knit top down. It has a double folded neckband, raglan sleeves, and the cable patterns in this pattern are charted only. So if you've not read charts before, that would be something you would want to familiarize yourself with before you knit that pattern. It has 460 projects on Ravelry and 4.7 stars on Ravelry as well. All right, and then I have two patterns which coincidentally are replicas or inspired by the sweater that Chris Evans wears in the movie Knives Out, which I'll put a picture of Chris Evans wearing that sweater here. But I didn't think I had ever heard of that movie before. I looked it up on Google. I looked at everybody who was in the cast, and I'm like, why would I not have ever seen this movie before? It's got all these actors in it that I really like. And so I rented it last night and watched it, and I was like, about 10 minutes in, I was like, I've definitely seen this before, but I couldn't remember the ending. So I went ahead and watched the whole thing. And honestly, it's not just Chris Evans who wears great sweaters in this movie. All of the cast are wearing really great sweaters throughout the whole thing. So if you want to watch a movie that has a lot of great knitwear inspiration, I would recommend Knives Out. Hi, kitty. Hi, kitty, kitty. Okay, so the first one that I came across in my research on cabled sweater patterns is the Handsome Chris. This is inspired again by that Chris Evans sweater that he wears in Knives Out. This is by Caryn Shaffer. It is a free pattern. It's a worsted weight pattern. She used Blue Moon Fiber Arts yarn. It goes up to a 60-inch finished chest circumference. 2 sleeve width options, which is cool. I like when pattern designers include a little bit of variation in the pattern. It has a drop shoulder. It is knit in pieces, bottom up, and then seamed. It has 486 projects on Ravelry and 4.8 stars from 75 votes. So this has definitely been a popular pattern, for cabled sweaters, or maybe from people who really like Chris Evans. I'm going to insert a little clip here about a news article I found on that Chris Evans sweater.
The New Yorker had this to say about Evan's cabled crewneck sweater. Halfway through the film, Evan strides into the family's gothic manse in a crewneck the color of full fat eggnog, woven in the traditional Aran Island style. The sweater features plackets of thick, braided, water-wicking yarn, as if a sheep had yielded its entire winter coat to enwrap Evans in comfort. The cabled sweater, which was once a humdrum dad staple, took on a fabulous new dimension when it clung to Evan's broad shoulders. And never in the history of ever has a sweater been talked about with such reverence and eloquence.
So it's clearly been very popular with the fan base. And then the next sweater in this pattern collection up for awards that was inspired by Chris Evans' sweater is called the Saven or Saven sweater by Meghan Babin of Hudson and West. This is a paid pattern. It is also knit out of worsted weight yarn on a US size 7 needle. It's knit in Hudson and West Forge yarn and goes up to a finished chest circumference of 70 inches. There are 256 projects on Ravelry, 4.4 stars from 59 votes. And this one is interesting because it includes shaping or waist shaping directions, for waist shaping for like a classic menswear sweater, but it also comes with directions for not including the shaping if that's not something you're interested in. Another unique thing about this pattern is that The shoulder construction is a combination raglan and saddle shoulder, and I'll put a picture of that detail in here. And I thought that was really interesting. This is knit from the bottom up in pieces and then seamed, and it has a double folded neck collar. And then one more sweater up for consideration for our cabled crew neck awards here today is the Moby sweater by Petite Knit. Everybody probably who's taking the time to watch this video has heard of or seen the Moby sweater before. This is knit out of a DK held together with a lace for a worsted weight gauge. It's knit on a US 6. She recommends Sandusgarn Pure Gint or Double Sunday held together with tin silk mohair. It only goes up to a size 59-inch bust. It's recommended to be worn with 6 to 8 inches of positive ease. It is, or Petite Knit herself ranks it as a 5 out of 5 on the difficulty. It is a top-down, drop-shouldered sweater, so it is knit in the round for the most part. It's not seamed. It does include short row shaping, and this pattern has 989 finished projects on Ravelry and over 5,000 posts under the Moby sweater hashtag on Instagram. So this sweater has definitely been a fan favorite. Oh, I do have one more sweater to talk about before we hand out the awards, and that is sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is just a very straightforward, well, as straightforward as cables can be, cabled knit sweater. The cables are all the same. The same cable repeats throughout the entire sweater. This is a sweater that is never going to be trendy or go out of style because it is just a staple for centuries. Now, I don't know about centuries, but definitely for the last century in places like LL Bean or Kellogg's, like LL Bean, The Gap, J. Crew, they always have a cabled sweater similar to this in their offerings for the winter season. So this is knit out of a sport weight yarn, recommended to hold a light fingering plus a lace. It's knit on a US 7. And again, another very popular sweater pattern with 783 projects on Ravelry and 4.8 stars from 194 votes. This is a drop shoulder top down sweater, so it is not knit in pieces and seamed, which might appeal to some people. It does only go up to a 58.5-inch finished bust circumference. So again, the awards I want to hand out today are the most inclusive award. And when I was considering what qualify a sweater as being the most inclusive, I looked at not only finished chest circumference, but details that might be easy to adapt or customize to your own preferences, and also the availability of the yarn that the pattern is knit in. One thing I really appreciate from designers is when they offer yarn suggestions or even knit their sample in a yarn that's widely available, and widely available both in easy access to it, but also in that it is a price point that is accessible to more people than, say, just a very high-end yarn or a hand-dyed yarn that might make people feel like that sweater or that pattern is kind of out of their reach. So when I looked through the patterns that were up for award today, I decided to give the most inclusive award to the Saven or Saven pattern by Meghan Babin from Hudson and West. And I did this because the finished bust circumference does go up to a 70-inch, chest circumference, and it included options for the waist shaping, or to not include waist shaping. You could easily put a single layer collar on this or a double folded collar. So congratulations to the Saven pattern by Meghan Babin for Hudson and West. In the most popular category, you've probably already guessed, but this has to go to the Moby sweater by Petite Knit. With 989 projects on Ravelry and 5,000 posts under the hashtag, there was really just no other, option for the most popular award. And I'm sure that this is popular for a reason. Petite knit is known for having well-fitting, well-constructed garments in a classic, timeless style. So I think that it makes sense that she gets this award. So congratulations to the Moby sweater and Petite knit. For the most unique award, in this, I looked at, cabled sweater patterns, especially in this lot that I'm considering today. I chose patterns that were all fairly similar because I was looking at those classic cabled crew neck sweaters. But one stood out as having some unique details. And that was, again, the Saven pattern by Meghan Babin for Hudson and West. And the things that stood out on this for me were that shoulder detail that has the combination saddle, shoulder, and raglan shaping. I just really love that, the look of that. It looks very professional and well finished. But also the center cable on that sweater, it's more intricate, and it's cable on cable intersecting with other cables. And I thought that stood out from the others. So while that might be more difficult, it is also more unique. So congratulations ×2 to Michelle Babin for the Saven sweater. For the least intimidating of these cabled sweaters, I gave that award to the Billie by Sari Nordlund, and that is because of its seamless construction and raglan shoulders. So that means that none of this sweater is spent knitting flat. So I felt like this might be a good option for a first-time cabled sweater pattern because you're just staying knitting in the round. Maybe you're already familiar with raglan shaping. Hopefully you are, because I'm not going to say, but I wouldn't start with a cabled sweater for my first sweater pattern. So if you are already jumping into cables, you might have already experienced raglan shaping before. And also least intimidating for the Billie because the sample was knit in Cascade 220, which again is an affordable yarn, easily accessible, maybe even at your local yarn shop, but definitely all over online. And then the last award category, that was for the best free cable sweater pattern. And we had a couple free patterns in this roundup of cabled sweaters. The Quinn Pullover by Kaitlyn Barthold using Lion Brand Retweed. The Honeycomb Aran by Gayle Bunn for Yarnspirations. The Handsome Chris, which was a replica of Chris Evans' sweater in Knives Out by Caryn Shaffer. Those were all free patterns, but I did give the award for the best free cabled pattern to the Honeycomb Aran by Gayle Bunn for Yarnspirations. It had the most size options available out of all of the free cabled sweater patterns. It had a ton of finished projects so that you could look through and see what people did differently or the different yarns that were used. And it was also knit in an easy to find yarn at an affordable price that was made with Patton's wool worsted. So that's it. Those are the cabled sweater awards. I thank you so much for joining me today. Please come back next week where I'm going to just have a regular making podcast where I'm going to go over all of my progress on my knitting projects, what's coming up, and some other crafty bits I've been up to. So thanks for watching.